So here's the entrance to the museum. I'm going to take you along the works. Starting here. See if I can get enough distance. Oh, that's great. So this pink, black and white painting in the right-hand corner, that's one of the pieces that sold yesterday. It looks very much like the painting a friend of mine did, Seb, in Eindhoven. Love him, great guy. And he came in yesterday and I said, oh, I'm going to show you what I think is going to be your favorite painting because it reminds me of a painting that you did. And he walked around the corner and he said, oh, that's it. I was like, well, look around first. He goes, nope, this is the one. And of course he looked around and loved the exhibition, but I loved it. He wanted that painting. This wall shows some of the different techniques that you can use while doing acrylic pouring. This one's the Dutch pour. It's done with a hair dryer where you blow it out. This is called a flip cup, where you actually turn the cup with colors all built up over the canvas and then either tilt the cup or lift it up. You can also create a vacuum and put pins in it. This is one of the canvases, one of the few canvases where I actually did a painting on top of it. It looked kind of like blood, and I put those bubbles in there. People love this one. Two of my canvases, this is funny, there's a great story behind this, because these three, the blue one in the right hand corner and these two, they were all inspired by food. This one is called Insane Candy Cane. This is Neapolitan, and this one is called Berry Berry Ice Cream. So you could tell I was getting hungry. Here we get to what I call the Feel the Heat. These two walls have some hot colors, some fiery colors, and also some great multi-canvas pieces. Hot pink, it's a fun one. I actually love this canvas a lot. I bought some paint. You can actually see it here in the light. Normally you use a heat gun to get the bubbles out, and I was like, why aren't the bubbles going out? And I bought some paint that day, and I was like, oh, it's on sale. And then I found out why it's on sale. It's got, you know, just chunks of paint in it. And when I put it on here, I was like, oh, this canvas kind of looks sick. And it's called Scarlet Fever, but it's actually got a gorgeous, bumpy texture to it. And normally I wouldn't want that in the paintings. You want it to be smoother, but this one worked out just great. Right behind us here, this is the Under the Sea. These are all ocean inspired. This is a favorite of people called Seaweed. Just love the colors in that. It's kind of like a stratosphere, like the ocean from way up high. This is a funny canvas. I painted this. I'd actually run out of canvases, and I went and bought a cheap one and painted it. And then when I looked, let's see, I'm going to tilt the camera sideways. If you look, it's not very square. The whole canvas was crooked, and I was like, no matter how I post it, it doesn't look good. So in the long run, I was like, oh, it looks like a diamond. I'll hang it diagonally. I'll call it Blue Diamond, and it's just like it was meant. Oh, this is another favorite. I just love how the gold came out in this. It reminds me of those cuttlefishes deep in the ocean that play those disco lights. That's why it's called Depth. Some smaller canvases. And these three, this is where it's all started. When I started doing this technique, I decided to go for some ocean colors and made this first series. The one in the middle is the first one I made. Then to the right is the second one, and the third one. And I kept adding silicone oil, which is something you do to get cells, which are like bubbles. So in this first one, there's some cells here to the left, but by the way I manipulated the canvas, they're pretty stretched out. So the second one, I decided to try that a little bit more relaxed, and here you see those bubbles. Those cells are better. And then I thought, oh, let's try a little more, and that became quite a bit, and then you got huge cells. Now, funny, a lot of people who do this acrylic pouring, they go, oh, no, this, don't do that. And I'm going, well, why not? A lot of people go, oh, this painting doesn't have many cells. I'm going, they don't all have to have cells. Because I rented the entire church, I decided I had enough room, so I also put in some of my mosaic and macrame pieces as well. Oh, this is nice because you can't really see this one. In the church during the day, the light hits it wrong. It's called Beyond the Nebula. This is another one of those ones that I painted on afterwards. It looks like a nebula, you know, space cloud, but there was this nice black area that I was like, oh, it's kind of splotchy. So I added some stars to it. Looks like a little window in the nebula. Very large canvas. I was setting up the exhibition. There wasn't enough room to hang everything on the wall, so I had to get some easels and find some creative ways of hanging things. And this is one of my favorites, was to use a piano. I've got my 3 pieces that are in the marble series on top: pink marble, olive marble, black and white marble. And the one on the piano, that was one of the last paintings I did, and it was inspired by a band. So I thought, oh, well, what a better place to put a band-inspired painting than on the piano. My friend Elma gave me this pedestal tray, and she's like, can you do something with it? And I put mosaic on it, and that sold yesterday. Quite happy. Another one of my final paintings that I did, I thought, oh, I'd let me inspire by Holland. Our flag is red, white, and blue, and orange is the national color. And it's often raining here in the country. There's a big national holiday where everyone dresses in red, white, blue, and orange. It's called King's Day. It's one of my few titles. It's called Dutch Dreams, with the subtitles in Dutch. Koningsdag in de regen. Koningsdag is the holiday, and it means King's Day in the rain. Here behind me there's 3 panels, and these are all what are called spiral or galaxy pours. They look very much like outer space, depending on how far you manipulate the canvas. You can see here, you see the whole spiral, but on others you only see a piece of the spiral, or just, you know, this is really like a quarter of that spiral. This one is the Acid Queen. I'm thinking of Tina Turner in Tommy. And the interesting thing is, sometimes when the paints mix on the canvas, you get different colors than you expected. And this turned out to be this kind of almost nauseating green with this purple. But if you look at the side of the canvas, you go, what's that bright yellow spotch? Now, that was actually the color of the yellow paint when it was mixed on the canvas. For those of you that are fans of Isaac Asimov, this looked like, you know, a excuse me, nebula deep in space, and it's called number 1, number 2, number 3, Night Sky on Terminus. Again, if you don't know what Terminus is, you're not an Asimov fan. I love the fact that these 3 canvases, I painted them next to each other, so they really form a series. Bottom left, this is more of a subtle one, black with some blue. My friend Rob, my best buddy here, this is one of his favorites. I love that he picked a more subtle piece. You can see that the collection is very colorful and varied, so there's something for everyone, really. Here's some of my macrame work. Again, I had to be creative, and they have these coat hangers here. I decided to use those to hang up my macrame. For those of you with kids and know the movie Frozen, it was on Disney Plus, and I looked, and I was watching Elsa. She gets coronated. She has a kind of teal and purple and blue dress on, and then when she makes her snow dress, it's, you know, light blue and white, and I kind of mixed those colors together, and this one's called Elsa's palette. One of my favorite mosaic projects, you know, people think this is stained glass. It's actually a lantern that I bought, and I cut glass and glued it to the glass panels, and then I bought lead strips and actually put them in between to cover the cracks, so it looks like stained glass, but it's faux stained glass. And I have some LED lights inside to make them glow. Some smaller mosaic work coasters. Macrame is back in style. These I love. I was making these feathers this year, and one of my largest pieces, this took me weeks. Nice window hanging. When I first started mosaics, I didn't have a lot of money, so I was recycling, and I asked people to give me their Pringles cans. So here's a series where you see a Pringles can, you go, oh, it goes from this to this to this, and these are all vase is made out of Pringles cans. Some more macrame pieces. A mirror. Hi everyone. This is for my friend Harry, a custom piece. He liked the painting I made because of the colors, but his girlfriend wanted something more green, and she liked a piece that was a little bit more nebula and spacey, so I decided to make a custom painting and combine their two desires, and they loved it, so they bought that, and he was nice enough to return it to me for a few days for the collection. This one was on Facebook, Orchids. It sold yesterday. One of my favorites, I'm glad. Yeah, the Rainforest series. Here's this feather pour. This one, it's got an interesting structure to it because I didn't quite know what I was doing yet, but there's two pieces in the main collection that worked out really well. Yeah, this is beautiful. You can see what I'm talking about. These are those cells I was talking about where you get those almost like little bubbles. Another Dutch pour technique, the citrus explosion. Yeah, this is the English Garden, 3 panels. Colors using a swipe technique where you actually pull color over the top of the other colors, and then you get those beautiful cells. Get also a little bit more of what's called lacing. That's like here, if you see the green here, there's like these white lines around it. Depending on how you mix the paint, and you get these beautiful effects. Here's my Pride series for 2020, all inspired by the rainbow flag, brighter colors. This one's interesting because it's made of primary colors. It's just red, yellow, and blue, and by mixing the colors a little bit violently in the cup, they mix, and you go, oh, you see green and purple, and none of those colors were in the original pour. This one sold yesterday to a friend of mine. Her daughter recently came out, and she's into the pride and the rainbow flag. Nice depth in this darker rainbow tunnel. Now this rainbow, the secondary colors, the darker blues and the orange came out in an interesting way. Now here's a piece, 3 cups. One in the upper left-hand corner that I swiped to the right, and then bottom purple to the right, and the blue one to the left, and they managed to stay fairly defined while making these beautiful cells again. The white spreads over, and the silicone oil in the purple causes these effects. Also a late painting I made. This is Jealousy. I had a bunch of greens that I wasn't using. This came together really nice. And then you enter the second room of the museum. This is the featured collection. I'm going to start with the left-hand wall. I was talking about this swipe technique. In a swipe technique, you put colors on the canvas and spread it around. And then, for example, with this one at the top, you put a stripe of gold, and using a sheet of plastic, you pull the gold over the other colors, and the colors then bleed through. This one came out quite, stripy, I would say, but depending on how you manipulate the canvas, you can get all sorts of squiggles and different lines. This one sold literally half an hour ago. Love the colors in this. And then more of these swipes. Did one with silver as well. Very light amount of silver, so the colors really came through, and you can see again that silver causes this lacing like it's just outlined. Beautiful. Nice textured one here. This I did with balloons, that you actually blow up a balloon and then you press it to the canvas, and it actually picks up the paint, and what's under comes out. And now here in this beautiful church where I've done some musicals, you have these beautiful stained glass windows in this alcove, and this is where I put my main collection with the nice piano in the beginning. Starting with the blue Cyclone series. 4 spiral pours of 3 different size canvases, and a lot of people talk about these ones because it's a shame that right now the light, these are actually much more a teal blue. I'm looking at the screen, they look much more like a dark blue, but there's so much depth in these, and I see people standing and get lost in these. This was my second attempt at making a feather pour, and when I was pulling the toothpick through the paint to make this the feather spine, I started pulling off to the sides, and I was like, oh, it looks like legs, almost like a microscopic creature, or a caterpillar, but I didn't want to call it that, so I decided, I'll give it a nice Latin name. There's et spina viventum, and if you translate that, it literally means creature with spine, so it sounds a little chicer than caterpillar. 3 more of my favorite ocean pieces, fairly large canvas. A man came on the bike yesterday and loved this piece, Neptune Rising, and he said, oh, with my bike, I can't, yeah. I was like, well, I'm open the next 2 days, and he took my card and my number, and he said he'd come back Saturday, so I'm hoping he's going to buy this one. Well, yeah, some of my absolute favorites here. It's just a shame, though, in this light, the colors are a little bit muted. Oh, that's a little better. Beautiful details. And in this one, the cells, when I was tipping the canvas to make the effects and get rid of the extra paint, I really did it at a strong angle, so those little bubbles really stretched out. Some people who use this technique go, oh, you ruined your cells. I'm going, I think it's gorgeous. The largest canvas, I literally bought this canvas pretty early on, and I was kind of afraid to use it because it's so big. So this is a painting, about painting number 90, but it came out beautifully. Tons of colors, cells, lacing. There's a metallic blue paint that just shines in the light. The colors, there's flames, there's so many things to see in this painting. This one as well is a swipe technique, but depending on where you see it sit in the light, this blue and indigo peek out. Yeah, you can see them here in the corner so well. My friend Hank really loves this piece. Another one of my favorites in the top 5. This piece sold yesterday. This was my 3rd attempt at the feather technique, and it really worked out. You have to pour with 2 cups at the same time, one with color and one with black. And not only do you have to move the cup back and forth, you also have to move it across the canvas at the same time. So you're really concentrating on 3 things. And these are much like the vortices of on the other side, but in purple. Now, that took 20 minutes. That's the entire collection. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me, and I wish you could have been here as well, but I hope you can still enjoy my first and definitely not final exhibition